for listening to the Unscripted Dreams Podcast with Joe and Marcus. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to email us at unscripteddreams@gmail.com. If you're interested in listening to exclusive content that includes bonus episodes and our hindsight video series, please join us on Patreon at the Unscripted Dreams Podcast. If you're listening to our podcast on YouTube, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, or iHeartRadio. Thank you. Live.
Hey, what's up, people? As we know, life is full of surprises, both good and bad. The day-to-day journey is full of unforeseen obstacles, and sometimes it's hard to see our way through. Beyond the norm and mundane are where unscripted dreams live. Join us for thought-provoking discussions and interviews to help us navigate through the fog and create our own path. We are the Unscripted Dream Podcast, operating outside the margins to motivate, inspire our audience. So today's episode is really based on a book that I feel like is very important, Marcus as well. And the name of the book is called As a Man Thinkith. So I guess we might title this as, to be gender friendly, we might title this As a Man/Woman Thinketh.
Something creative. We'll figure it out by the time it comes to you.
But basically, this book is a self-help book. It just helps you channel your thoughts. So it just helps you process things, really.
It's an old book, though. Do you know the year by chance, Joe?
I don't know the year, but you could say that some of this stuff is like biblical terms that they use in this book. So that lets you know, like, this was really old.
1903.
Yep, biblical terms, like I said.
Sounds right.
Makes sense. But realistically, how I discovered this book or heard about it is because I know this is a go-to book for people that's been on lockdown or locked up, so to speak. This is a book that they typically read in there. I know that sounds crazy, but realistically, this book really can help you change your life. I kid you not.
So I think, Joe, one thing, I think we read two different versions of the book, and this wasn't, I just want everybody to know, this wasn't intentional.
There's a lot of versions out there.
But because Joe had shared something with me from the book, and I was like, well, I should probably check this book out too. And then, I just checked it out, and I said, well, I'll read it because it's a fairly quick read. So
you can read this book within an hour flat.
Yeah, I read it in 35 minutes, audiobook reading at like 1.5 speed. But I think there'll be some differences though, because Joe, did you read the original text?
Yeah, I believe what I had was the original text.
Okay, and my version was the updated version to more so relate to where we kind of our society today. So what Joe read and what I read, they're going to be different, but they're the foundation of it is still saying the same thing. I think everything will relate. So, but let's get into it, man.
All right, man. Well, first and foremost, from my understanding, the book I read and the book he read, there's only 7 chapters. So we're just gonna break our whole episode, our whole cadence of the episode by each chapter and what we think about it. The first chapter was about thought and character. So I'm just going to throw some out there. I'm not going to give the whole book away, but you're going to get a gist of what the book is. So, Marcus, when you think of thought and character, do you truly believe that a man or woman is the reflection of what he or she thinks?
I think so. I'll tell you why. It's because you have to, there's a part of you that has to believe in certain things for yourself, and I think it's important to, in the book, kind of goes into this, and that just the concept of your thoughts as seeds. And, I kind of go back to the origin of me, having the idea to, have my own business, and how I remember, Joe, you asked me one of the earlier episodes we did, you asked me, how long did it take for things to come to fruition?
Yep.
as far as me getting to the point to where there was actually something tangible that was actually out there. And I was like, man, it took like quite a bit of time. It took a few years, or at least a couple of years, before you could even see, like, I could actually physically show you something that I was working on. And it's really, like I said in the book, it's just like the concept of thoughts being seeds. And if you believe that there's something out there for you, if you think that there's an opportunity or something that will become available to you, you have to kind of plant that seed in your own mind, so you understand that there's something more than what's currently present. But you have to cultivate that seed too, and that's important. So your thoughts, like what you think, it grows into other things, man. And I think that's part. I hope I answered that and didn't
No,
deviate.
I think you hit the nail on the head with that one, man. The only piece I really have to say to add on to thought and character is um, they mentioned a very important factor of the three things that you need, and that's a good sense of understanding, and the next one would be wisdom, and last but not least would be power. So understanding, wisdom, and power. And they broke it down as it being he who seeks shall find, with using those three characters or those three things. So I thought that that was the most powerful takeaway from thought and character.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think it'll be good as we go into this, just seeing what you took away from it as versus what I took away from it. And I think what I took away from that, just the chapter one, like I said, is just the concept of your thoughts being seeds, but also that, like, we're in control. We're in control of what we think, and
Yeah.
we have to like play an active role in what we're consciously thinking about. And you have to be like intentional about it. And that's what I took away from it. But
I'm with you on
keep it
that.
going.
Okay, so yeah, we're just gonna move on to the second chapter, which would be the effect of thought on circumstances. I
Mm-hmm.
hope you had the same for as well.
Yep.
And so pretty much, I got to list a few things that I bulleted on this, but what my initial take from it is whatever you produce in life, that's your output ultimately. So the amount of work and effort you put into things, no matter if it's a lot or next to nothing, that's going to be what you get in the end result. I think that this is true, very true in most cases. You can't necessarily look at it as, okay, somebody else put in less effort than I did and they've reaped the benefits more than I have. That may be true in some aspect, but I guarantee you they're not going to get much value out of it as much as you did, just because you didn't put all that extra time where you probably have a better understanding of whatever that endeavor may be, and they wouldn't. So a perfect example is somebody getting money too fast. So say that you didn't, over a span of 20 years, you worked your ass off and you didn't make millions of dollars until those last couple of years, versus somebody that was in it 1 year and they're a millionaire. I guarantee you by the time you really make your money, you're going to end up making more money than them, because they didn't probably blew it too fast because they didn't know what to do with it. They didn't have the necessary character behind the work that they did. And you see this a lot with entertainment. So just trying to make a good example of that. Another one I have is a person's circumstance are always associated with his inner state. So your circumstance that you're currently dealing with is associated with what's inside of you. You put your own self in situations. It's nobody else's responsibility but yours to get yourself in or out of those situations or work through them, however you want to look at that. So it all starts with your inner state and how you feel about a situation. So if you're feeling crappy about a situation, more than likely you're going to get crappy results, because that's going to come out. If you feel positive about something, then more than likely the positive's going to come out that because you're only looking for the good out of the situation. So it's all based on how you feel on the inside of yourself.
Yeah, and I just want to add to that. I think what makes this interesting, Joe, is that the way that the what you read and what I read, the way they captured it, it makes it to where we're probably pulling two different things from it, which is great for just the context of this conversation.
Sure.
But, just one of the things, like you were kind of saying, just as you mentioned, entertainment. I started to think of one of the things that was in the book. Just talked about like you have different like there's a seed for intelligence, and there's like seeds of garbage.
Mm-hmm.
So and how it's important. What that brought to my mind is that how it's important to like guard your mind and be very mindful about the like entertainment, the things that you consume impact you, and that's consciously and subconsciously. If you ever had a dream and there's something crazy in your dream that you've never even thought, you probably have a dream, you're like, why was I even dreaming about this in the first place? And you would find that it might be something that you watched on TV or something that you consumed, and it might have been trash. Like you might have been watching some garbage, and it's important. It's important. Like I mean, Joe, there's certain things I watch on TV. Like I try to get out. I'm like, oh man, this stuff's trash. I gotta get this. Like I have to like not watch this and watch something that actually has, some value. Something that there's something actually in it for me that has some meaning, and that's important because if you're feeding yourself garbage, if you're watching things that provide you no value. It might be entertaining to you, but it might not be feeding you anything that's nutritional per se.
Man, I'm glad you said that because that's how I feel about watching like those old slave movies. Like it's just something about that. I'm just giving an example. Like I don't like watching like movies like Roots, and when they remade Roots, I purposely didn't want to watch it. I mean, people are probably like, "That's blasphemy. That's about your ancestors," and it's like I know the story. I know what happened. I know what's real life stories didn't happen. I don't need to relive that visually so I can have a horrible image or take that out on somebody that has no control over that. That's generations away from where we lived. I'm trying to move past that. I'm looking for the betterment in life. I'm not really trying to focus on uh, what it was, so to speak.
And I agree with you, Joe. Like I don't watch those movies just because it's like, why am I trying to put myself in a situation where I'm going to get frustrated or upset about something when I can, like, I already know what happened. I already have the knowledge, so I'm not watching this to be entertained. I'm just, I'm watching it. And I'm just like, I'm not like, there's nothing positive that's going to come out of me watching this. So why don't I just put my energy into something else, and not even waste your time like watching it? Like, you don't have to watch a movie about something that you know about for it to validate your understanding of it, because that form of entertainment, that visual form of entertainment was formed from something that somebody read, so if you read the text and you understand the history, you don't need to watch the movie, you don't need to watch the documentary because you already understand it.
Exactly.
So and then another thing that I took away from that chapter, Joe, is just I think one of the quotes was just as you solve a circumstance, a new one will arise. And I thought about that, and it just like it's true. I mean, once you solve
There'll
one
always
problem,
be something. Always.
another one pops up. And the last thing was, we can learn from success and failure, and I think that's key. I think that's key in life because there's always going to be success and failure. And you have to, if you lose and you just take that L and you just are like, all right, I lost and that's it, and you just soak in it. Or if you take that loss and you're like, all right, well, what did I do wrong? What can I use to, what can I learn from this misfortune to improve on my next time out? Like that's how you need to look at it. And, if you're just taking the wins and you're just running with those wins, then you're missing out on all those opportunities all the lessons that the failures teach you.
Exactly, man. Everyone is where they are based on the contents of their character. All right, I'm ready to move on.
Let's go, man.
All right, the third chapter we have is effect of thought on health in the body. Health in the body, man, it was actually not that big of a chapter, but it was real descriptive as far as saying that disease and health is rooted through thought. So you're very susceptible as far as getting sick by mentally taxing yourself, whatever that may be. So whatever is causing harm to you at a great deal mentally, that pit that you get in your stomach or whatever you may feel in your chest, you know what I'm saying? Or get to a point where you might be troubled mentally to the point where you're not eating. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's how impactful your mind is on your body. Your body follows the mind, whether you realize that or not. So, one thing that I think that people should realize is this, that thoughts of fear is comparable to like a deadly bullet, so to speak. And, by living in fear, you didn't kill yourself twice over. So what I mean by that is by you living in fear and then actually going through the situation or whatever trials and tribulations you're dealing with, if you're living in fear through those trials and tribulations, you basically killed yourself 2 times over. So that's what I mean by that. I don't know if you understand that concept well, but I hear that a lot by a lot of people that, what's the point or what's the worst that can happen is one of those things where you kind of have to process from the get-go and accept it and fight through it. Otherwise, you're just going to be making poor choices um, regarding those situations.
Yeah, I agree. I'm like almost like 90% on board with you, Joe. I think like we talked about this before, is just like the health piece. I didn't have a lot on just because I felt like it was common sense, and I think because of the way that the book you read is different from what I read, I
Right.
think you were able to extrapolate something that I wasn't able to take from it. So I just want to just for the most part jump on board with what you were saying, but it's just important to you know understand that you have to let those positive thoughts win out. And if you're thinking you want to be healthy, you want to be in good health for the things that you can control, because not everything within your health you can control, but for the things that you can absolutely control, it's important that you're having the mindset to engage in those actions that are helping you cultivate a healthy mind, a healthy body. And that's what you can do, because those thoughts and those thoughts, they matter.
Boy, they do. I could tell you a few
That's
things.
it. That's it. I have for health.
All right, well, let's keep it rolling, man. The fourth chapter would be thought and purpose. And mind you, most of the thought and purpose, and mind you, these chapters are literally like no more than like 2 or 3 pages.
Bro,
So
to the
that,
point.
yeah,
To the
straight to
point.
the point. Like it gets no better than this out of a self-help book.
Yeah.
Um, so when you think about thought and purpose, we've already mentioned that, doubts and fears, they never accomplish anything and they always lead to failure. It's because that you don't have yourself positioned in the right place where you should be. You know what I'm saying? Like stupid thoughts or stupid actions or something like that, get win stupid prizes or something like that. So you got to
Mhm.
think about that, man. Like, if you're doing something stupid out here, of course you're going to win something stupid. If you're doing something courageous, you're going to get something courageous in return. So you got to think about those kind of things before you actually act on them. So you always want to keep in mind, what is my purpose behind doing this? What am I going to get out of this? Most people let their anger or fears or just purely not thinking. It might be just greed, and they thinking like, hey, I'm about to get a lot of money out of this, or I'm about to get all I can get out of this. but don't ever think about the repercussions or the consequences. Why you think people are in jail? You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Most of the men that are locked up are locked up over women because they don't think about the consequences before they get to those situations. So, I'm dropping real knowledge here. Like, a lot of people put themselves in bad situations based on emotion. They don't think things through. So you gotta be mindful of those type of things, man. What's your intent? So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what I was able to take away just from the purpose is that your thoughts and purpose go together, and you have to turn your obstacles into stepping stones. Like you have to like see the obstacle and then formulate in your mind like how are you going to get over it, and really take the time to figure it out. And you're not like you might not be able to figure it out in one setting. Like you might have to think about it for a day, a week, a month, just to figure out how to overcome it and create a plan for yourself. And if you, I think one thing, Joe, like if you, and another thing from the book is it just like kind of stated that if you focus on fear, you never accomplish anything. And it's important to understand that like sometimes you're going to have to overcome some fears just to get to where you want to be. And it's not going to be comfortable.
Your best defense is a great ass offense.
Joe,
So
it's a joke quote.
when you think about fear, you always on defense mode, man. You gotta play some offense too to get forward. That's
Yeah.
all.
Yeah. That's all I have for chapter 4.
I mean, that's cool, man. They all know he who conquers doubt and fear conquers failure. So plain and simple. Chapter 5 is about thought factor and achievement. So, the key word is achievement. That's what we live for. So, as he thinks, so he is. So, if you think you this, you're going to start living like that. You're going to start portraying that. It's not something that's going to just be mental. Your body's going to follow suit and exude that. So, that's how powerful your thoughts are. We just talked about how much it impacts your health in a bad way. It can impact your health in a great way. So if you're thinking happy thoughts, what you think is going to happen to everything else in your life?
I think that's one of those where you meet somebody like I know I've met a few people where from the outside it looks like this person's just they're doing terrible from the outside from the outset, and then when you talk to this person in their mind they're not doing as poorly as you think they are, but this what you learn is that it's their mindset that keeps them in that state of like happiness or that state of everything's gonna be all right.
And it's
And
not for you to decide, it's for them to decide. So whatever makes them happy or makes them feel great, you got to also be comfortable with them feeling that way. That's another thing.
yeah, the confidence on these people, I mean it's something to see. But I mean that exists, and if you ever come across that, like soak that in. And that's one of the things in the book that I read. I mean, one of it was just like develop the qualities that you admire in others. And I thought that was, a pretty profound statement, because if you see somebody doing things that you want to do, you see somebody that has the quality of doing something, then you have to figure out, well, how can you develop that within yourself? But not with the intention to emulate somebody, but with the intention to develop it in a way that's suitable with who you are as a person. And
Exactly.
and I thought that was pretty cool, because I'll never be somebody that's just gonna go out, and just like be the life of the party or anything like that. Like I can do that temporarily, and it's a cost. Like it comes at a great cost to me, at a cost of exhaustion for me to even attempt to do anything like that. But you can find something within yourself, like even if you're the most laid back person, like I am, like I know Joe is, but you can find a way to, within who you are, within your character, to develop a quality that fits within who you are. And that's, and that's okay that's because you found a way within yourself to do something the way that to, exhibit a quality that you like without losing who you are, because it's important to stay true to yourself, because when you find yourself acting like somebody else, you've lost sight of who you are. And that's like, you don't want to lose yourself trying to be somebody else.
At that point, you lose the level of purpose, or yes, the level of purpose of who you are. You know what I'm saying? You basically telling yourself that you're insignificant. So you
Mm-hmm.
got to think about what you do, man.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So one last thing I want to add in about thought factor and achievement is no progress or achievement is possible without sacrifice. So there's a lot of things you got to sacrifice to get to where you want to be.
And
Uh, so I
there's a
thought that,
cost.
yes, pay the cost to be the boss is a real statement.
There is a cost. And there was, never mind. Never mind. That's the next chapter. I'll be quiet.
Okay, well, let's move on to chapter 6, which is visions and ideas. You
Uh,
gonna you,
yeah,
you
man.
gonna
Yeah,
go?
man. Let me lead the way on this. So this was maybe within the book, man. This was one of the most significant stories that he told. Because it's so short. Like, you have to understand, if you're listening, this book, like we were saying, like, you can, well, for me, I was able to take everything in 35 minutes just because it was an audio book. But it's a quick, like, it's just such a quick read, and it's straight to the point. It's not like beating around the bush or anything. Like, you get straight to the action, and you go out there, you try to implement. But there was what they were saying in this chapter, what I took away from it. I don't know if this was in your book, Joe, but they tell a story about, you know, how, just talking about how interior transformation will eventually display itself outwardly. And it tells a story about a guy who works in the factory. Tell me, Joe, if this is in the book, the version that you read, but this is a story of a man who, like, he worked in the factory, and he had aspirations of, like, wealth and success. And what he did was he took the little resources that he had and the little time to develop his horizon. So he was in this situation where everything was, he wasn't able to I guess, obtain what he wanted to obtain, and the only way to obtain it was to become more than what he already was. And he didn't have a lot to work with, so he didn't have a lot of money, he didn't have a lot of time. But eventually, when he had time that was just his and time that he wasn't bartering with an employer, he decided to invest that time, invest in the resources, and eventually he outgrew that life in the factory. He ended up being successful. And I kind of really took something away from that, because he grew to embody his vision. And people didn't see, like, even though he grew, people didn't see what he was doing when he left work. He just, like, showed up to work over time, and he progressively just grew out of that situation. But he took what little he had, what little resources he had, what little time he had, and he turned it into what he saw for himself and what he wanted for himself. And I thought that was pretty good, because you'll see people who are in a situation where they're thinking, like, well, I don't have A, B, and C, and I can't get to the next level. Well, I ask, what do you have? What can you produce with what you currently have? And that's, you just have to kind of build on it. And depending on what your circumstances are, if you're not making a lot of money, you have to think of, like, what can I do with what I have to get to where I want to be? How can you use an opportunity? Like, how can you use your situation as a stepping stone, or how can you turn that to a circumstance that is something that you overcome? And I thought that was like, probably one of the best part of the book was when I kind of heard that, and I thought that was pretty insightful.
Yeah, man, I really love it. I mean, I didn't necessarily have that example in my book, but the message was there. What I took from it, or what I wrote down was, your vision is the perception of one day what you shall become, and that's exactly what you just explained there, man. So, it's spot on, but I didn't necessarily get that example out of there. But, also what you said earlier, man, you will always gravitate to what you may secretly love. So, it might not be for right now, whatever you may love or desire to be, but it's going to come out in some avenue, whether you like it or not. Maybe one day you always wanted to be this glorified singer like Whitney Houston one day, and, you couldn't really put your talent to use because for whatever reasons that just wasn't your lifestyle. Then all of a sudden now there's 30, 40 plus years later, you got kids and you're a grown ass woman and you bored on Wednesday nights. And what's on Wednesday nights? Karaoke night at a wing bar. So what you gonna do? You're gonna take your ass down there and sing your ass off. So all I'm saying, man, is, I mean, it's funny, but all I'm saying is, man, you can't hide from what you love, man. Even if it's some sick, decrepit thing that you love, you can't hide from. It's gonna come out some way, somehow. And I could speak on a lot of people that's in the news regarding that situation, but I'm not gonna touch on that. But I mean, you can't hide that, man. What's in your heart and what you have passion for will never leave you.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah, you just have to kind of just have to embrace it, and figure out what you have to do to get there. Um, but was that all you have for chapter 6?
Yeah,
All
man.
right.
Let's wrap it up. Let's bring it home with chapter
So
number 7, which is Serenity, man.
chapter
And
7.
yeah, chapter 7, Serenity. And that's actually one of my favorite words, one of my favorite things out of the Bible, if you ever read it, is serenity. And, you know, serenity is everything, man. Once you accept everything for what it is, man, life life becomes way better. Like one of my favorite sayings is, "It is what it is." I hate when people say it is what it ain't, but I love the factor of it is what it is because literally, man, like every situation I've been into, what you gonna do about it? It's already been done. It's already been processed. There ain't too much else you can do about it. So at that point, it is what it is, man. And I personally believe from reading this, the statement where it says calmness is power, that's everything, dude. Like, as long as you have your peace in the world, nobody else can take that from you.
Yep. And Joe, I think when I was reading it, because for you it says serenity, for me it's peace of mind. And I was having a conversation probably a couple of days ago, or a few days ago. I was just talking about, everything that goes on in the world, and just how, you know, like it's important to have, peace of mind. Like I think, like for the just the concept of this book, like peace of mind, or serenity, as it's stated in your book, this is not, it's not easy to achieve. Like this is the equivalent of like somebody like having a doctorate, or you're achieving like the ultimate clarity, because you have to,
Yeah,
because you
to gain the knowledge of serenity, you literally have to experience all the emotions. That's the unfortunate part about serenity. But once you're there, you're there.
Yeah, because that's not something you're gonna pick up overnight. Like you have to, there's so much for you to have peace of mind. Like that's all I want, like, is to have peace of mind. It's not a like financial peace. I mean, financial peace, like something financially might play into it, but to understand what, like even prior to reading this book, just to have a like peace of mind, like to just to know what that means for you, and to understand like how more enjoyable your life will be if you have peace of mind, and you come to accept things, and you're able to process things in a certain way, in which you can understand it. Like you were saying, Joe, like it is what it is. I said that to somebody today. This guy was complaining about something. I was like, bro, it just is what it is. Like we just gotta, let's just do it and keep it moving. So but to obtain that, like to obtain that level of clarity, like you have to, like you really have to be at a point in your life where your mindset is set up to where like you're like really in a good place. And I think that's something that, and I think that's why that was the closing chapters, because it's something that you have to work to achieve, and it's not easy. But when you achieve that, like it's definitely a milestone, and that's definitely something that will enhance the overall quality of your life. But that's definitely a process.
For sure, man. To acquire that kind of knowledge, man, it'll take some heartache and pain. That's all I could say about that, man.
Yeah. But that was my final thoughts on that was that peace of mind because that's pretty that's a big topic, man. That's hard. It's hard to achieve. Yeah, man. Mental agility.
Mental agility, I like that.
So, but that's it, man. I'm spinning on the book, man. It was a good read, and I want to say this is the last thing, Joe, and I'll be done. Is I think that it's important to invest in yourself, and this book also talked about that. But this book cost me, Joe. I don't know how much it cost you, but it cost me like under $3 bucks. I think it was like $2.75, and Joe was gonna buy it for me too. After he sent me the little what he was after he sent it to me, I was like, bro, I was like, I have credits. I said I have a, I let him know I said I have a budget for just like investing in myself and that, reading, and that's something that I have for myself is just, it's important to take time to invest in yourself, and this book talks about that as well. But you have to take time. You have to be willing to invest. Like I'd rather buy a book than buy clothes or something, something that is going to be, temporary than, spend a couple bucks on something that, what's $2 like a payday in Arizona tea, a payday in
Right.
a pop, so that's, with inflation, I won't get into that, but, but no, it's important to invest in yourself, and it's important to, take those opportunities to find like to find things that interest you or find things that will better you. And I'm glad that Joe sent me what he was reading because I didn't ask him to send me anything. He was just sharing something with me, and it essentially has like turned into this episode. And it wasn't intentional. We weren't thinking about. We had no um, we had no plans to review a book in an episode. There were zero plans
Not at all.
to
I
do this.
actually think that that's really corny, but the fact that this book was so small and so impactful, that's where we decided that it would probably be worth your while to look into it.
So just keep that in mind that this was, like I said, this was something that cost me under $3, took me less than an hour to read, and it was, like it was very impactful, and it's something that I think certain people should read it every day or once a week, until they can, understand some things and maybe, transform their lives. But it's crazy what a couple dollars can do for you, or being intentional about investing in yourself can do. But
Look, man, you can even go on YouTube and shout out to Mental Health Awareness Month. We still rolling. But you can even go on YouTube and there's multiple full audiobook versions. There's even people that even give notations on breaking down the book and what it exactly means with notes. So, even if it's worth your while, you don't want to pay for something, you just want to be super cheap. Dude, you can easily just go on YouTube and they'll give you the information that you need. So I highly recommend that you at least just check it out.
yeah, only costs you time. There is a cost, and it's your time. But absolutely, Joe, man, I agree with you. And I hope I said, like I always say, man, I hope people enjoyed this. I hope someone takes the time to check this book out, man. It's quick read, and I think we'd love to discuss it with you if you check it out. We're not starting a book club or anything like that, but we'll chop it up with you.
Yeah, I'm not in the business of doing book clubs. I'm sorry. I do read books, but I'm just not in the business for that.
But hey, I think that's all we have. So y'all take care, be safe.
Yeah, man, be easy. Quarantine.
Peace.